show up for people. I think if we can do that in our work every day, we say, okay, maybe I'm bored with this job, but how can I serve the customer? How can I serve my coworker? How can I love the people that I'm on a team with? How can I make their day a little bit better? If I can do that, that's purpose. And so if I'm self-focused, it's like, what can I get out of this? What kind of enjoyment? If I'm looking for that dopamine hit from my job, that's kind of like a dead end street no matter what I'm doing.
Well, here we are with the third episode of the Kid for Bros podcast. I am your host, Titus, joined by two other Kid for Bros, Tim and Joe. What's going on?
How's it
Sun is
going?
shining in Dehradun, which is very nice. Hasn't done that for a long time. So it's a
Yes,
good day.
we've had an awful monsoon here. In fact, people have lost their lives in this last week due to flooding in our city. So it's very good to see the sun out and hopefully no more rain for a while.
Wow.
Anyway, it's good that we're not a news and current events podcast though, because there would be nothing really to talk about these days, right? There's not a lot going on in the
No,
US, right, Joe? I mean, I haven't heard any news out of the US recently.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
quiet.
Right.
it's good we can avoid that.
That's right. I'm glad it's just a boring time here and that there's just nothing going on and that I feel like the right and the left in America right now are coming together more
It's just
and
disappearing. Yeah.
and I feel like there's a lot of just love, like people like the right and the left are like
Totally.
hugging each other a lot
Well,
You probably
and
see that
hugging.
just on the streets. Yeah. If you just walk down the
so,
streets.
yeah, like if you see
That's
someone with a blue
fantastic.
shirt and someone with a red shirt, they just can't not when they walk past each other. It's so symbolic in
Just wave it
America
in.
right now. Yeah.
Uh, it's awesome.
Incredible. Great. Well, that's our first segment, news and current events. Let's get into the meat of the episode now that we brought the cutting edge cultural commentary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say,
This is
Joe?
not That's not what this podcast is about, but we just know that Titus is not going to be able to not like at all. So that's
Right. It's tough. It
yeah.
is very hard. Mark Driscoll put on threads and probably also Twitter that if your pastor did not mention Charlie Kirk, it's time to find a new church. And then he has a digital resource of how to find a godly church. So if anyone's
Oh,
listening that was in Joe's church, and if Joe did not mention it, I just wanted
I
to let you
didn't.
know that resource is out there.
I
That
didn't
resource
mention
is
it.
out there.
Yeah. So if you're from
Yeah.
As One Church Detroit, you can find Mark Driscoll's Rechurch. Rechurch. Okay, that's great. You know, that's the other thing on podcasts. It's good to mess up once in a while. People like to see that just
Mm,
humanity come out.
His
Uh,
research
right.
resource. There you go.
the resource, yeah. The resource is there from Mark Driscoll for you.
Great. So a little product placement here as well as we're getting going. We'll be looking for that check from Mark Driscoll's ministry for that plug. So today we're going to be talking about the sanctity of work, and we have done about the normal amount of preparation for this episode. And I think, Joe, you just got out of bed maybe a few minutes ago. So
Well, not quite, no,
you'll
but
get what you pay for, folks.
right. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway,
That's,
so Tim, you mentioned that this topic, you suggested it. Do you want to kind of kick us off here? Is there a reason you wanted to talk about this specifically?
I just thought it's a um, good subject that I think people should be thinking about, especially because a lot of people spend 8 to 10 to 12 hours per day at work, 5 to 6 days a week, and a lot of people don't enjoy their jobs. I don't know what the statistics are. Like, if I had to guess, it's probably more than 50% of people that like probably aren't finding a lot of fulfillment, or maybe they don't like their jobs. And it's just, yeah, and I think there's generally been um there's a trend of talking more about, taking down this sacred secular divide around work, but I think we still need to talk about it more. So there's been this idea that, some things are sacred, some things are secular. And basically a lot of people look at work and their job as like, you know, well, they're not praying or whatever, so it's kind of, something they have to do to survive, to make money. But it's kind of a curse in their lives, and they just want to work as little as possible so that they can, do the real stuff, do the stuff they enjoy, or do the real ministry, or you know that sort of thing. So it just kind of cuts your life. If you have that mindset where like work is this drag and it's just you wish you could be doing important things, then you're really in a bad spot because you spend, like I said, 8 to 10 hours per day on that, and it doesn't have to be this way. So that's kind of why I thought it's a important subject to talk about. And I think we're probably mostly on the same page with this, so we can not fight too much.
It's
Right.
good to fight a
Yeah, I
little,
mean,
though.
I definitely yeah. I definitely used to have this, sacred secular divide um in my head. And I was a perfect example of what you're describing, Tim, where I mean, I started masonry when I was 16 years old. I graduated high school early, and when you're a Mennonite, you join the local construction crew, whether you want to or not. And so that is what I did. And I was the mud boy. And, over the period of time that I did that work, I probably inhaled at least one entire bag of mortar. Just put it, you put that thing on top of the mixer and split it, and it's just a cloud of dust just envelops your entire being. And then, you got to mix it, get the quantity just right, or the masons will yell at you, and you just get covered with mortar, and it's back breaking. And I hated every minute of it. From the minute I showed up to work to the minute, like I was just watching the clock the whole day. I was really bad at it. I was lazy and I just hated it. That
That's
was my
terrible.
first job. Yeah.
Oh, thanks for
And
sharing.
and then eventually I learned how to lay brick and I started enjoying that a little more. And then they
Did
sent
you
me
yell at
over,
the
they
new
were
mud boy
partners.
then?
Yeah, you pass on the abuse, hurt people hurt people. So yeah. So there was a couple brothers that were partners in this business, and one of them had a lawn care business. So they sent me over there and I enjoyed that marginally more. But I still just didn't care about my work. I couldn't, I tried, like I genuinely tried to care about my work, but I, I had zero interest in it. Like the whole time I was working, I was thinking about something else and I was super absent minded, did a terrible job. Um, and it was interestingly only when I started my first company that I learned to enjoy work. And so, I mean, that's not everyone's story. That's not a flex. It's not good that I couldn't work well for other people. But it's my experience. Like I had that secular sacred divide where I felt like this is a necessary evil. Um, and I think that started to change before I started my own company. Especially, I remember one specific moment when I was weed whacking some super overgrown grass in the dead of the summer. And I was listening to the Bible Project podcast, and Tim Mackey and John Collins were talking about, I think it was Genesis 1 and 2, which they talk about a lot, and how humans are created in God's image, and but we're created to steward his world. Like the reason God created us was not simply to have a relationship with him. Yes, it's to have a relationship with him, but what's the nature of that relationship? It's a partnership where humans are supposed to steward his world and like bring forth the potential and create something out of the raw material of the universe. And I remember something switched there in my brain where I was like, what I'm doing right now and weed whacking this field is actually what I'm designed to do. Like I, as a human, was specifically designed to make this space better, you know, even on something that menial or that simple. So that was began to shift my thinking on this, and then starting my own business really helped as well. But yeah, it's been kind of a journey on for me on this. Does anyone else
Huh.
have a
You've
testimony of hating their first job?
you've always had a
I
great mindset towards work, Joe, haven't you? Oh,
well, I mean, I can relate to what you're saying, Titus. Like, I remember when I was like 18, I was living in Kenya, and I decided to go to the US and get a school bus with a friend and drive it to El Salvador. So did that.
As one does.
And yeah, just did it. And then came back to the US, went to Kansas, and was like, oh, cool. It's America. I'm going to like work for a bit, make enough money to cover the trip and go back to Kenya. So I did that. And I worked at a greenhouse, and I was on like an assembly line putting tags into pots as they went through one after another. And I just remember watching the clock and hating every minute, like you said. And it was just like the most mindless task, and it was just awful. And so I worked in some of the greenhouses as well, but I never really enjoyed it, and it wasn't great. So, um, that was probably like, I'm sure you can learn to enjoy that kind of work, but I think um that I can relate to what you're talking about, Titus. Like, I didn't always have the right mindset about work. Um and yeah, I think like I've had other jobs. I don't know, for myself, thinking back over the different jobs that I've had, like I can just see different ones, like varying levels of engagement and enjoying it and that type of thing. I think it's important for people really to try to find something that they enjoy doing. Don't just beat your head against the wall. If you like hate your job, you can probably find something that you enjoy doing. Or if you're geared towards being an entrepreneur, definitely you could lean into that and try to start your own company, start your own business. Um, I definitely enjoy my work a lot more if I have the more autonomy I have, the more I enjoy it, or the more I have the ability to create and yeah, just be creative and bring solutions to problems. I enjoy it a lot more than if I feel like I'm just like a cog in a machine. I can't do that. Like, the assembly line work isn't for me. I'm sure it is for some people. Like, they just like that, going to work and just doing the same thing over and over. It's easy. Maybe they can kind of relax when they do it. Um, but I do think of how, like, right now, my work, I'm using, like, I have to, yeah, it's like using my my brain a lot at my current work at Open Hands. Like, I'm often needing to try to solve problems and move something forward, or uh, teamwork. Like, a lot of things where it's relationships and problem solving, vision, or um, moving a new initiative forward or something like that. So a lot of more mind work. And so I actually really love painting, which is kind of a mindless task. So for me, I love to have a side project where I'm fixing up a house, and I just like to go in and paint, and it's mindless. But I'll listen to like a podcast while I do it. So it's like an awesome opportunity to kind of relax while I work and learn, kind of listen to a podcast. And so I really do enjoy that. And going back to kind of the whole subject of the sanctity of work. Yeah, I think the more we can have that mindset that um, of being stewards of what, like, God has called us to take care of the earth and make it a better, like, um, grow things and care for things and manage things, be managers of whatever that is. And whatever is within our realm, we can make it a little bit better every day. And if we have that mindset, rather than being users and consumers, if we can be creators, it can really do something for it can really do something for kind of, I think, the enjoyment that we get out of life. Like if we show up to whatever it is job we have. And I know, Tim, like I've heard you talk about your work at the tow truck company. I think that's a really good example of just saying, you know what, I'm here right now. I'm literally going to do the best I can do at this job right now. Doesn't matter what it is, how menial it is. Like I'm going to wash my truck. You can probably tell us a little more about that. But I love that. Like that speaks to me when you give that story, it resonates like that. That's how I want to be, no matter what it is. Like just make it a little bit better. Like if and I remember too, like a guy, Sam Hollis. I'm throwing names out here again. I doubt he'll be listening to this podcast, but a great dude in Kenya, a friend, and a missionary from another mission, and he didn't have a car, and he borrowed my car, and he took it to Eldoret and brought it back to Nakuru, and and he washed it like really well, took it to the place to get it washed. And I was impressed. I was like, hey, thank you. And he fueled it up and all this. And he said, yeah, he remembers somebody telling him, like, when you borrow something, bring it back a little better than what you took it. Like the condition should be a little better. And so I think, yeah, maybe when you borrow stuff, it's not always easy to do that. But having that mindset of trying to leave things a little better than what you found them. And there's a story that I listened to as well where somebody was talking about how he went into a public restroom and the guy was like cleaning the sink or something, like some not a worker. And it's like that thing of, dude, when I go into like a bathroom on an airplane, I'm not cleaning the thing. Like they're usually really horrible, especially depending on your route, right? And
It's
but
true.
can we have that mindset of serving and showing up and leaving whatever it is a little better than what we found it? And if everybody would do that rather than like trashing the bathroom and like using stuff, just using and consuming and leaving it for someone else to clean up, like that can make such a difference. Whether it's I'm getting going now. I think I need to let you guys talk, but like even
Waking up.
just
No,
I think
caffeine
so.
is
Yeah,
working.
I guess
Yeah.
waking up now, but that whole thing of like leave. Is it my bedroom? Is it the living room? Is it the hallway? You see something out of place and your wife is busy and your kids are um well, we want to teach our kids to do this, but like your wife is tired and busy, like you see something out of place. How long does it take to like put it in place as you walk by? And and how long does it take to just clean something a little bit or um, yeah, I don't know. I think that's how I
Mhm.
want to be, and that's what I aspire to. I don't certainly don't always achieve that, but I want to be a creator and a manager, not a consumer and a user. So
Tim, have you shared the tow truck story on this podcast? Like you
It,
working at the
I
tow
think I
truck
did.
company?
I think I did on the one that we had technical glitches, so I might share that story again now.
Sure.
Um,
Go ahead.
but yeah, I mean, I think just responding to what you guys are talking about, like the menial work, just these little things matter. I think the important thing to understand is that it can all be worship. And we tend, if we're actually doing this, for what does it say? Do everything for the glory of God. If we can actually pick up, some dirty socks on the floor for the glory of God, it has meaning. If we can do, mix mud, or I was towing vehicles or whatever, like if we can do it for the glory of God, it changes. It doesn't really change what we're doing, but it changes our whole mindset and experience. And then I think it actually becomes worship when we do that. Otherwise, it's just, yeah, I don't know what meaning it has. But if we're doing this, we're doing it for God, we're doing it for caring for His world, then it's worship, and that's what makes it really meaningful and important. Um, but yeah, this tow truck story. So I mean, I started in construction too, like Titus mentioned. I was 15, and I didn't like working, but I did a decent job probably. Um, then I loved cars, so I thought working on cars would be so awesome. So I was working on cars, but that got menial as well, I would say. Then I was towing cars, and that's where something really changed for me. And I think I mentioned it before, but this book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, that was part of the story, where when I read that and I realized, oh, like even in, you know, I can look around me and find out how to do an excellent job. That there is something I can do, you know. I'm not just stuck here just doing what everyone tells me, like towing the next car that I'm told to tow. I can actually, purposefully keep my truck nice, think of new ways to like tie things down on the truck and that sort of thing. And it really like transformed my enjoyment of my work, first of all, but then it has other consequences. Like my boss started noticing and he started, giving me promotions and wanted me to even help him run the company. And before that, I wouldn't say he was even thinking that direction because I was just another one of these little guys, towing cars for him. But it made a difference. And I think like doing everything, like understanding work to be like sacred or, yeah, sanctified, like it's God called us to do this, a calling from God that we can do for His glory and to worship Him has that same effect because we're going to do if we're doing this work for the God who created the world, like that's even more crazy than, having a job to do for President Trump or like we would feel so honored to do something for the president of our country if he came and asked us to do something like pick up socks. Um, I don't know, maybe
What?
not. As I said it, I
Uh-oh.
was like, well, I don't know about these guys, but a lot of people would. I mean, would just be so. Who's your hero? You would be so thrilled to do something for your hero. Maybe it's Elon Musk or maybe not. I don't know who's your hero, but like to do this for
It's
the Lord, the
I could
Creator.
tell we're
You know,
we're we're just kind of struggling here this morning not to talk about politics at all.
Yeah. Somehow
oh
it came
man,
back in.
I'm trying to land like this amazingly important point,
What
and it's
what I
just
what
not.
I like what I like is how you were trying to find a more neutral person, and then you said Elon Musk. It's like I don't feel like that
Yeah,
was the
good
next logical
good
choice.
try, Tim. Yeah.
Okay, I don't know. Like, yeah, it's those figures that come to your mind, I guess. Anyways, yeah, I think so. Like, I've been up and down with like how well I do on this, but it does. I love work when I know that it has purpose. I know why I'm doing it, the why behind it. So yeah, I do think this I guess is a hot take maybe, but like I don't think there's like if you're not enjoying your job that you should first think about, okay, what kind of work would fit me better? It could
Mm,
be that certain types of work fit certain types of people better and their maybe personalities or something like that. But I would say like the first thing is just try is like what you're doing right now, like try to find the joy in that, whatever, even if you think this is not my fit. Because I think our mindset is actually a much bigger determiner of whether we enjoy our job or not. Um, even more than like, do we like physical work or do we like knowledge work yeah, I don't know. I don't know what you guys think about that. What do you guys think? Should we really be looking for like this perfect, how do you call it, confluence of our passion, our what we're good at, like all these things. That's important, but do we need to do that to find enjoyment in our work?
I think people generally will do that anyways. Like in general, if you have a job offer or opportunity that comes up that seems a lot more enjoyable or pays better, people will generally go get that job. So maybe in some situations, people should be encouraged to find something that's a better fit. But I would say probably the more pervasive issue is people just being discontent with what they're doing. And, in a lot of parts of the world, certainly throughout in previous points in history, people can't really choose between a plethora of options for what to do. That's a pretty uniquely 21st century Western, you know, thing. And so, I mean, if we think about it in that way, um, it's not like all the people in the developing world who don't have a lot of options or all the people in previous centuries couldn't flourish. That's obviously not true. And so I think that should kind of inform our thinking here a little bit. I do think there's something to be said for, hey, like if you do have options and you're just sort of paralyzed with the status quo, then yeah, it could be really helpful to be pushed. Um, like for me personally, what really helped me was owning my own company. It's not for everyone, but it was certainly the right thing for me. And so the fact that I had that opportunity and went for it completely changed my life. And so that could be true for other people listening to this who might not be in a good fit. But I also think that we need to be careful with that because that could just be discontentment and like yeah, people not like you said, Tim, finding joy and purpose and meaning in whatever they're doing.
Now, if you have
So
an abusive boss or something like it, or some situation like that, take the leap and
mhm.
get something else. But yeah.
Right.
Yes. So I agree with that, Tim. When it comes to our work, like what's our mindset with that? I think that's so important. It could be like, okay, we don't enjoy this job. It can also just be a situation that we're in life. And a lot of times, meeting life's hardships, you want to just get out of it. So we can kind of compare that to a job that we're just not enjoying. We're just like, oh, well, what's the next shiny job? But if we do that, if we're jumping from thing to thing, job to job, I don't think that's the right response a lot of times, unless, like you said, Tim, it's an abusive situation of some kind. Then get out, like get out. Yeah. But when it comes to learning to enjoy our work, you mentioned purpose. Like, what purpose is there in that? And um, I think of this. I think I can draw this comparison to Viktor Frankl. Like he was a guy that was he was captured by the Nazis and put in a concentration camp, and he noticed people like other prisoners dying, and those that were dying, they were not finding any reason to live, any purpose. They had no purpose, and he hung on to finding purpose through his suffering, through his pain. And so I think that for us, finding purpose in our work and just realizing that we as humans are created to work, we're created to be stewards of creation, to be managers, and that can be putting the tags in the pots. How am I serving the person who's going to receive this plant? Maybe somebody's going to take this plant and give it to their sick grandmother. There's purpose in my work, no matter how menial it is. So, as an 18-year-old, I wasn't thinking of that. But could I have? I think so. And I think, like you said with the tow truck, Tim, like you were finding ways to serve through that, ways to um, show up for people. I think if we can do that in our work every day, we say, okay, maybe I'm bored with this job, but how can I serve the customer? How can I serve my coworker? How can I love the people that I'm on a team with? How can I make their day a little bit better? If I can do that, that's purpose. And so if I'm self-focused, it's like, what can I get out of this? What kind of enjoyment? If I'm looking for that dopamine hit from my job, that's kind of like a dead end street no matter what I'm doing. If we're like there to consume and just try to like please ourselves through our work, I think that's a dead end street, and it probably hardly matters what you're in. And yeah, you're going to enjoy some jobs more than others, and like you said, Titus, you're probably going to gravitate towards the work that you enjoy. I think that's good and right that we do that. And it's fine to say, hey, this job looks attractive to me. Like um, I enjoy uh, car mechanics, but I don't enjoy construction. Like that would be an example. Or I enjoy, yeah, there'd be other examples, but I think that's fine. But I think for us, no matter what we're doing, to really find that purpose, that like higher purpose in our work is really important.
Hmm. Yeah, you made me think of something when you mentioned construction versus car mechanics, because I didn't like construction, but then I got interested in car mechanics. But I think I could have gotten interested in construction, but I like every day I went and I just cut the boards the length they told me to. And like when they were reading the blueprints, my eyes just blurred. And so I wasn't going to get like I just wasn't interested. I didn't like interest myself in it, I think, is it wasn't passive, it was like an active choice. But then like cars, I got interested because dad bought this Volkswagen and then he was like, you should get a Volkswagen. We started having fun with Volkswagens and then I got interested in cars, so I went online and researched and then I so since I interested myself in it, I really enjoyed that work. But I think it was just a choice and I could have made that with construction too because it is it's creative work. It, you know, so yeah, and I think in general too, if you have that attitude of like there is meaning in this work, and I'm going to interest myself in it and try to make it a little better every day. If you're an employee, you're probably going to get promoted. If you're a business owner, your business will be more successful. Like I think it's just a principle built into the universe that those who proactively apply themselves are going to be promoted in whatever role they're in.
Yeah. So you
Yeah, you
mentioned the
can definitely
universe, Tim.
tell. Go ahead. I
Sorry,
think there's a
I was
lag with you, Joe, somehow. So if we talk over each other, that's why. Go ahead.
sorry. Yeah. I don't know if it's my internet or what's going on today, but um so Tim, you mentioned the universe there. Like, so do you believe in God as well? As well?
We
God.
just we refer to
Yeah,
him as the universe here in the East.
no, God
So
created the universe, but he created it
yes,
with principles that just work the way they do because he set them into motion. And
right.
he's the source of those, but I do believe even people who don't believe God exists still benefit from the principles of the universe because God created it to be that way. So
Yeah,
great.
Yeah.
I knew that that's how you viewed it, and I agree and did agree. I just thought thought that's an interesting side
It's
note.
great.
You know, how do we view the universe? And I love that explanation that the universe is what God created and set in motion, and we interact with it on a daily basis. Yeah.
One thing I was thinking about is, what a difference it makes as a customer when someone enjoys their job and is passionate about it. And I think we even face this more in India because, like in the US, even if someone hates what they're doing, they will try to put on some kind of front of good customer service. And you might be able to see through it, but there's some sort of veneer there. In India, like customer service just is not necessary for a business to succeed from my at least in certain industries from my observation. And it doesn't mean everyone's terrible at their work. It just means you can tell when someone actually cares, about what they're doing. Like we have a gardener who comes into our office and just makes sure the plants and the pots are doing well. And he always comes in and is just super happy and positive and takes amazing care of our plants. And he will like fight me to put the plants outside so that they can get oxygen which at some point I need to break it to him that they take carbon dioxide. But he is right that they do better outside. Um, and he's determined that these plants will be healthy, and they are looking much better since he started coming around.
For
And I have to
sure.
fight him to try to get him in the office because I like to look at them. But like that experience, and you could just tell when someone, it doesn't matter what their job is, when they're passionate about it, they will be good at it, and they will be pleasant to interact with when they're delivering the service. And so that's a huge part of like bearing God's image and loving your neighbor and serving people, is if you do your work with passion, like you will, everyone you interact with in the marketplace, their day will be a little bit better. And that's huge because so much of our interactions have to do with, business transactions, whether it's going to a restaurant or filling up your car with gas. Like you're all day long, you're interacting with people who are, doing their job. And if your whole day is filled with people who hate their job, it's just not going to be a very pleasant experience. And so I think that should be really motivating, no matter what your role is. Like your work will affect the experience of those who you're serving.
And I
Yeah, that's
love that
good.
example of the gardener, how because it makes me think, that guy, how happy is he? I'm sure he's so happy, like as he cares for these plants. And it's a job that I'm sure he doesn't get paid a lot for. And a lot of times in society, we kind of look at these like the higher paying jobs, and the jobs. Okay, I went to university for this amount of years and got this job, or I started this company and I'm doing entrepreneurship. And we think, we just kind of have this natural way of thinking that those people, like, wow, that's amazing, like that must be fun and great, and it can be. But also, like, that guy who's the gardener and getting paid just a little bit, but like how you describe him, Titus, I know that guy loves what he does. And when he goes home and he knows that he took really good care and he fought you to get those plants outside, and those plants, like, he comes back and they're doing well the next time he shows up, like, he's a happy dude. And
Right.
Mhm.
so I think that's like, I can think of that in my life, like a time when I was, when I was 15, 16, like I went through a period of kind of like terrible depression. And when I came out of that, when I was 18, like I really got into gardening. And you guys know this, like in Kenya, how I got into landscaping and gardening and taking care of plants. And that was really healing for me. And just caring for creation and watching stuff grow. And I wasn't getting paid for it, but it was fantastic. And then I went to America and got you guys to take over, and I sat in my lawn chair and drank a Coke while I
Right.
ordered you around so that you could learn how to do it, right?
Right.
You guys remember that?
Right.
One of us was
Definitely.
the watersman, the other one was the
That's
edgesman,
me.
right? Who you were
Yeah.
the edgesman?
No, Tim, you were the edgesman.
I
I
I
was the
was the edgesman.
watersman.
I
Yeah.
would
And
use the
Joe was
So
the
for our
panga
oversman.
to cut.
for our podcast people, the edgesman edges the flower bed with a
To
machete,
garden.
which was called a panga in Kenya. So you'd like take your machete and make a nice straight edge on the flower bed, and then the watersman. That's pretty self-explanatory. So yeah,
We used to
It's
get
a
up in
good
the middle of the
time.
night to water plants because that was when the water was on. We were that committed.
You you
dedication,
passed your
so
passion on
much.
to us. We were like, our older brother is into this, and we had better be into it too. Like, it was serious
It
stuff
was
for us.
serious. If you're getting up in the middle of the night as a 14-year-old, 12-year-old, whatever it was, however old you were at that time, like, yeah, that was, you definitely must have found it very, very important, as I left Kenya, to kind of keep those flower beds going and stuff, the trees.
I mean, I recently went back to that property, and there's there's some not quite the same level of dedication that you had, but there's still some of those palm trees there. So your legacy lives on. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. If you're watching this on YouTube and you like to listen to podcasts, we're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and maybe Google Podcasts. I'm not sure, but you can go check us out there too.
Please hit
So we
subscribe
appreciate all
and
of
be
you.
our
Hit it.
20-something subscriber. We kind of need some more.
And like Joe did,
We
you
need
can
that to
paint.
ease up.
You can paint and listen to this podcast.
Hey,
like Joe
yeah.
mentioned.
great
That
suggestion.
would be awesome. Yeah.
Great suggestion. All right. See you all next time.
See you.